welcome to episode 62 of the SNDP podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Thank you to Division 1.1 for this week's song Violence in the Season. Before we get started, Dan, I'd just like to apologize, but I do have to return all your game use stuff. I don't believe they're actually game used.
Oh, that's awkward. How
do I know they were your actually used equipment?
Well, you could tell by the dirt and smell. And
yeah, you could have just put it there, though.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, how's it going tonight, Steve?
Can't complain. There was a big thing today. Apparently, the New York Giants are selling not real game used stuff.
Apparently, but how does one not know about that though? Other than the Skivas and Eli and the Giants organization, you got to be so in tune on what exactly for the very detail down to the exact science of what exactly happened. But we'll get more into that later on to the show. This week is a big Super Bowl week. Sunday is finally the big game with the Broncos and the Seahawks, who once again we'd like to thank Adam Rink for coming on last week.
Yes.
Of course. The Knicks and Nets are both playing red hot right now, especially the Knicks. Something got into Carmelo Anthony's ear, and the Knicks just decided to play better as of late. And we have our good friend Dani from Blue Line Station Dani come in and talk about the New York Rangers and what her views were for the Stadium Series games that the Rangers played this weekend and Wednesday night against the Islanders and Devils, respectively. Before we start the show, Steve, you went to Wednesday night's game. What was your take on last night's game? Even though the Islanders lost, what was your take on that game?
It was a good experience, you know. It wasn't too bad. It was Yankee Stadium, so of course everybody knows about the wind situation at Yankee Stadium and how it's always flying wind. If you honestly removed the wind, it would have been very comfortable.
All right, so you have it here first.
It was a good game. I mean, it's not like, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, well, you'll hear my view later on in the show. I have, granted, because I wasn't there, I have a different perspective on things. But for everybody that went to the game, it looked like everybody had a fun time. But you'll hear my view later on in the show when we have Dani on. So here's more Division 1.1, and we'll start with basketball. Welcome back to the SND podcast. You just listened to Violence in the Season. That is tonight, episode 62's official song for tonight. We're going to start off with a little NBA action. Both Knicks and Nets played a very huge week since we last talked, Steve.
First off, congratulations to Joe Johnson. Well-deserved a reserve for the NBA All-Star team.
Absolutely.
Well-deserved.
Well-deserved, of course. He's been playing lights out. Funny how we mentioned how great he's been playing. The only night that he had an off night was the night I actually went to the Net game on Friday night.
Which, you know what else was funny that night? Was also the night that
Carmelo went off for 62 points.
Oh, no, he went off Saturday. No, Friday. Yeah, that's right. Melo went off Friday.
It was just one of those things. Friday night was just one of those weird nights. It was fun. It was a fun atmosphere. It's nothing beats a Knicks game, of course, but my time in Brooklyn was quite fun. I actually enjoyed myself while watching that game. How do you pronounce his name? Mrzatovic.
Something like that.
Televic.
We apologize in advance. If
he had a season high of 30 points, and he just shot lights out.
Where did they play Friday night?
They played the Mavericks.
Very nice. That's a nice win.
That was a very nice win.
Oh, that's right. They can't beat Toronto.
Toronto is the only team, and they lost to one. They had their shot to beating them, and then
Aaron Williams
had a costly turnover, unfortunately. But honestly, hey, if it's only one team that you can't beat, I'll take it, right?
Yeah, that's true. You can't complain about their month of January. I mean,
they're red hot. They are one of the hottest teams in the league right now.
And I'll tell you what, they have one game left, and it's going to be a tough game, home against OKC. Who haven't they beaten this month? OKC?
I believe so, yes. And we cannot forget to mention how Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett did go back to Boston on Sunday.
Yes.
And had a good return, and they found a way to win the other night. So congrats on them for coming back to Boston. I know how meaningful that must have been for both of them coming through, especially places that they won a championship in and gone to another finals, try to get another championship out of there. So definitely kudos to them. They have they've definitely been the hottest team in the league, other than like the aforementioned OKC. But it's going to be interesting. The Nets are just playing more loose, and they're able to play. They're playing more coherent as a team. And you can't really say that at the beginning of the year. I think they're finally figuring and gelling as a team right now. So tomorrow night against the Thunder, it's going to be really fun to see which Nets team is going to come out.
You know what? They have a tough week. Home against the Thunder Friday.
Mm-hmm.
At Indy on Saturday.
Okay, well that's what we're gonna see what the Nets are made of.
And then Monday's a home game against the 76ers.
Okay, so they have a tough 3-game stretch. I know the 76ers are a joke of a team as of late, but hey, it's a division game. You never know. You
fall asleep against a team in basketball, they can come back.
Exactly, and the 76ers can do that to you. As you can see, last night they pulled out a good win in the final seconds, which no one kind of expected, kind of thing. It's going to be a tough game the next 2 games for the Nets, but you as long as you're floating and how good they've played the last month, they're able to lose that 1 or 2 games in a row, and it wouldn't hurt them statistically. But I think the way the Nets have been playing, they could easily find a way to pull out a snail game or two against those 2 powerhouse teams, one in the East and the other in the West.
Also be interesting to see what happens when the calendar changes.
That too, for the superstitious fan.
You know what I love about the NBA? When they look ahead to free agency.
Yeah.
According to Bleacher Report today, Brooklyn Nets reportedly plan to pursue Kevin Garnett in 2016 free agency.
Jeez. All right, we got some time. Hope everything works out and he just doesn't want to retire, or he's still able to play. Of course, you're going to say that right now he's playing his best basketball at the moment. So I don't know. The Nets do have a tough couple games ahead of us. By next show, it's going to be interesting to see on how they play against the 2 top teams other than the Miami Heat, how they compete and fare against these 2 teams. So I'm excited to see what the outcomes are in those next 2 games. The Nets should find a way to win 2 out of the 3.
Hey, on the bright side for them, they don't play Toronto again till March 10th.
Hey, good for them. So God knows if they go on
Just
that.
win every game until then, and you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's very highly unlikely, but hey, you never know.
The way they've been playing, only teams that
they've looked pretty sound. I got to give them that. And Jason Kidd's done a great job after us saying that. Is he too far into it? Too far into it, and not ready to be a head coach in the NBA, especially with a win now mentality of a team.
He took the tie off.
He did. Ever since he took the tie off, it's been a different situation, as you can see.
Ball dropped and the tie came off, and that was it. That was it for him. But like we mentioned, Melo went off the other day.
Melo is there's some sort of swagger with Carmelo Anthony's basketball game. The last 3 games, the first 2 games, especially, how can we forget the 62-point outburst against the Charlotte Bobcats?
You know what I love?
Who have killed the Knicks this year.
By the way, you know what I love?
What?
About New York media? Carmelo Anthony scores 62 points.
Yeah,
and everybody goes,
but he doesn't get an assist. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Honestly, it just angers me. Like, Carmelo can't do anything right. They were up by 40 points, and Carmelo's just been beasting it. You could just tell he's going to be a free agent. He finally hitting that groove, and he doesn't want to leave New York. It looks like he doesn't want to leave New York, and Lala even said it. He wants to stay at Nick, which hopefully is a good thing. Just the way he's been playing out of his mind. We are recording on Thursday night, and the Knicks are having a handily lead right now against the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is, granted, they're not one of the best teams in the league, but they're certainly one of the teams of up and coming, especially with the young talent they have coming up the next couple of years with Irving and so on. It's just amazing to see. I wish the Knicks played like this every single night. The last couple of nights, they're just hitting their hot streak right now. They just got to keep that losing streak, which they've done too much. They've been very peaks and valleys so far this season, and as sweet the peaks have been as how bad the valleys have been this year for them. As long as Melo's going hot, looks like J.R. Smith's going off tonight as well. It's really
good to see him play.
Finally, get to see him play. He is starting tonight, so maybe that's been an added incentive for him to play as well. As
you know what, you come out, you play well, and you see what happens. If
I'm
maybe a boost. By the way, he only had J.R. Smith right now 21 minutes, 4 for 10 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 points, 1 for 3 from the line, 11 points.
Hey, for right now we are winning by
30.
By almost around 30 points right now. It's flirting 30 points.
By the way, congratulations to Melo for becoming the 50th member into the 19,000 point club.
Congratulations to Melo. There's only 49 other players in that club, so congratulations to that.
I mean, LeBron, I think, is on the 20,000 club, right?
Well, yeah. Not everybody can be LeBron James, though. So.
Oh, Melo's off again, by the way, 28. As of the last time this page refreshed.
Exactly. He hit a 3 a few moments ago, so I don't know if that was added to the totally. It was really funny. Monday morning, going into work, I normally get the daily news, and the Melo only scores 35, but the Knicks still win. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry.
But he had like 4 assists, so
yeah, it evened out. The player I know you're gonna say, I told you. But a player that I really like, and if he grows into his own, is Tim Hardaway Jr. I know he has the advantage of being coached up by his dad his whole life, being an awesome pro and an all-star every year with his career. I really like Tim Hardaway Jr.'s athletic ability and how well he can push up and how athletic he is for dunking and everything like that. The Knicks are going to be in good hands if we have him and Shumpert stay healthy. And with Melo and J.R. Smith, they have the pieces. I'm really interested to see what do you think about Tim Hardaway Jr. so far?
Well, of course, I've been impressed with him since last year.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be a Knick, playing in Michigan. But here's my question to you. You mentioned the future with Shumpert. Report came out today, Kyrie Irving is quietly telling people he wants to leave.
Okay.
Now, of course, Cleveland won't trade him.
Yeah.
Because they want to pursue LeBron if he becomes a free agent.
Of course.
And they're going to say, hey, LeBron wants to sign if you're still here, type thing. But if you're the Knicks, are you willing to move Shumpert if you're going to bring back Kyrie Irving and sign and trade for Kyrie Irving?
The thing with that is they will be looking for draft picks, and the Knicks don't have any draft picks to give. So the Knicks are not in no man's land. There's no way we're going to be giving up a whole lot of package just for one player like we did in the Melo trade. Kyrie Irving is worth it, but it's just not realistic. And realistic in terms of we would have to give up 5 guys for quote-unquote one draft pick kind of thing. It really is a pipeline, and it's not realistic just knowing the Knicks situation on cap space and draft picks that they don't have, unfortunately. If they had a bunch of draft picks, of course they'd be in a lot of talks of finding ways to get that at that caliber trade that they had a couple years ago with Melo. It would be nice to get a trade going, but Shumpert, as much as I like him and I like his style of play, him alone is not going to get Kyrie Irving with a couple of players. We'd have to probably give up Tim Hardaway Jr., him, Felton, and one of our big guys. I guess Tyson Chandler, pretty much Tyson Chandler. So it would be too much to even think about that kind of dream. But NBA rumors are the most outlandish things. You'll hear Carmelo going to 10 different teams in the offseason or get traded by them if the Knicks start to tank it, kind of thing. So you gotta take it with a grain of salt for everything you listen to, especially with NBA rumors.
NBA rumors, they're the best.
they are the best.
Did you know that Kevin Love, LeBron James, Melo, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook will be on the Knicks in 2020?
I forgot the exact rumor my coworker said, but it was so funny and outlandish that how people take the NBA rumors to be so serious.
There was a thing on Bleacher Report. I forgot what the exact trade was, But it ended up being where the Knicks traded everybody away. And they ended up with, like, Paul George, Lance Stevenson, Kevin Durant, Westbrook, and Blake Griffin.
Yeah, because that...
And it worked. And it was on the ESPN trade machine. And the trade machine said successful.
Wow, that's crazy. It's just weird. It's like I never pay attention to the rumors because they're so crazy and outlandish 9 out of 10 times. Like the whole Carmelo thing a couple years back. How many times Carmelo got traded to certain teams? He was a Brooklyn Net already at one point.
Didn't he play for all the teams?
Yeah, he and the worst trade was the KG trade that said Paul Gasol to Boston and KG to LA, and it was just a cluster. And it was Paul going somewhere. And they X'd the trade, and it didn't happen. And then a couple weeks later, he went to the Clippers instead of the Lakers. I remember that was another crazy thing.
Gotta love the NBA.
Gotta love the NBA with that. It's going to be a fun week, another fun week. Let's see if the Knicks and Nets remain hot. Next up, we're going to have Dani from Blue Line Station.
So let's go listen to more little violence in the season, and we'll be right back.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Basketball Association or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was Violence in the Season by Division 1.1. Now we'd like to welcome in, for the first time, another member of the Blue Line Station, Dani. Welcome to the show, Dani.
Welcome, Dani. How's it going tonight?
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a good night. It's always a good night when there's hockey.
Can't complain about that.
Absolutely.
No argument here. So why don't you tell us a little background on yourself? How did you become a Ranger fan?
Probably because I'm just an antagonistic little brat. I don't know. Grew up in a non-traditional hockey market, and I have a lot of family who are from St. Louis, so they're really big Blues fans. And just to be a pain, they were rooting for the Blues, and the Blues were playing the Rangers. I was like, I'll take the other team. And my family is real big on betting on stupid stuff, and I only had like $5 because we were on summer vacation, and I threw my $5 in. I said, I'll take the other team. And they were like, no, keep your money. I was like, no, I want $5 on the other team. And I ended up taking the whole pot because the Rangers ended up winning the game against the Blues. And it just stuck. That was the first time I ever watched them, and it stuck. So
awesome. That's a good way to becoming a fan of a team. Do you remember what year this was?
Well, let's see. Probably, I think it was the year before the Cup.
So 93. So Rector was the goalie?
Yep.
Okay, so she saw the Cup. She's not one of those fans that just became a Ranger fan after they won.
Yeah, no, before the Cup. Before the Cup.
The Islander fans like to say when Edmonton won the Cup.
Yeah.
Hey, they still won it. The Islanders have not seen a playoff series victory since I've been knowledge of the Islanders of being around. So.
No, since you have been an Islander fan. I've seen a playoff series win.
Yeah.
Technically.
Nah.
I mean, it's one of those things. When Boston won the Cup a few years ago, I was rooting for them, and I kind of felt bad when they won it because I was like, man, Ray Bourque, that's all for so many years. How many years did he play for the Bruins? And then he couldn't get a cup, so they traded him out to the Avalanche, and he got the cup out there, but it was one of those things. It was like just a couple years after he retired or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a good fire. Yeah, it was some time, but I definitely understand what you're getting at with the whole that one particular guy is playing his whole career, heart, sweat, and tears, and not being able to win the Stanley Cup. He gets traded away, wins the cup. And then a few years later, when the team is not as awesome, wins the Stanley Cup without that one marquee player. It kind of is like, too bad he wasn't on the team for that. I understand where you're coming from with that. Like we mentioned before, Dani, you helped write the Blue Line Station. We have a great friend AJ who's been on the show many of times. Tell us, we know what he does for the Blue Line Station. Take us through what you do on a daily basis for the Blue Line Station.
Well, I'm now the editor. AJ had some things that he needed to get done that took more of his time, so he's one of our staff writers. Pretty much, I mean, I go through, I make sure that our stuff is solid. I make sure that the pieces are researched, everything makes sense, grammar, punctuation, all that kind of fun stuff, and just make sure that we're getting the content out and staying on top of things.
Well, that's awesome. I know I enjoy reading the Blue Line Station because as an Islander fan, I don't really follow the Rangers as much. Like, I follow them, I see how they're winning and losing, but to get that background, I like to read the Blue Line Station. How did you find out about the Blue Line Station?
Well, I wrote for several different sites before I came here, covering different teams. And let's see, one site I wrote for, I did general hockey. Then I actually wrote AHL hockey for the Anaheim Ducks. Covered the Rangers on a third site. And I kind of accidentally tripped across a tweet that they were looking for someone on Blue Line Station. And I was like, okay, well, let me find out about this. Did some research, made some contacts, and turned out to be a good thing. And so I joined Blue Line and just kind of went from there.
With the team's recent success the last couple of weeks, they're playing red hot right now. What do you think is the key contribution of the Rangers finally playing hot? A number of things can go through my head. It's the players finally getting the system of AV. One bunch of that, their top goal scorer is playing caliber. I know before we started the show, you had a couple of comments about Nasher, but he's definitely playing lights out the last couple of weeks, without a doubt. Upon other things, what do you think is the key contribute to the Rangers' recent success?
It's not any one thing. It's the fact that Lundqvist finally has started playing his brand of game. He pretty much made goal line goaltending a thing in the NHL. I mean, he's not the aggressive type. He's not the type to come out of his crease or go out beyond having his feet between the pipes. I mean, that's just his game. And I commend him for wanting to kind of branch out a little bit and try something different. But I think at the same time, it's important for him to stay back, to stay in his net and just do what he does, play his game, and keep being solid. And that's one of the biggest things that has helped the team. But then you've got some other stuff like the fourth line and the third line. I mean, the bottom two lines are just ridiculous. They're solid, they're fluid, they are complete chemistry. I mean, you've got, on the third line, you've got Zuccarello, you've got Brassard, and you've got Pouliot, everyone says it differently. Those three, I mean, they kind of all rotate. Zook gets hot. Brass and Zook have a definite chemistry between the two of them that you can't mistake. They work their butts off in practice doing certain things, and then you see it on the ice, and you see them when they see each other, and it's like, yeah, we practiced that. That's exactly how we got it. And that's great. And you've got Pouliot out there who's doing stuff away from the puck. He's cooled down a little bit in points recently, but he's still he's using his body. I was shocked when I saw him in person, how big he looks on the ice. I was like, holy crap, Pouliot. He looks almost as big as Brian Boyle out there. I mean, he's not, but he just, something about the way he's out there and plays, he looks as big as Boyle. And I think that's been really helpful. You've got fourth line, you've got Boyle pushed out on the wing, which is a different role for him, playing more physical than anybody's ever seen him.
Yeah, that says a lot, especially with his body size. He hasn't been known for being in the body, even though he does, but for his big frame. No, that's his one knock on him. Absolutely.
Well, even at BC, he wasn't a big physical kind of guy. It just wasn't his game. And it made sense because, I mean, if you look at it, people who don't know him, don't know his play, they're like, oh my God, that guy's huge, just like Zdeno Chara, he's going to bash our heads in. And the refs would automatically have honed in on him for that. And he would have taken a ton of penalties unnecessarily and just penalties that shouldn't even have been assessed to him if he was the kind of player that, say, Wilson is for the Caps. If he was a big fighter, if he was a Chara, automatically it would just be like, boom, you're in the box. Boom, you're in the box. And so I think it's the right time for him to finally kind of start stepping out a little bit more. But I think at the same time with him, being drafted by the Kings was one of the best and worst things that ever happened to him. Because when they drafted him, I think they were looking for that big body, physical kind of player that he's not. And he ended up sitting for, 2 seasons, I think? Sitting with the Kings doing nothing until the Rangers picked him up. And the rest is history. I mean, once the Rangers picked him up, if his stats progressively, they get better and better every year. He learns more. He does more. He just takes that extra step every year. And now, I mean, he's one of our top PK guys. He and Carl Hagelin together on the PK are just unreal. I mean, I haven't looked at the stats in the last couple games, but I know at one point, a couple weeks ago, they had only had 2 goals scored against them on the PK, something like that.
They've been playing absolutely ridiculous on the penalty kill, and that's one of the key things that the Rangers build their team around is solid defense up the middle, especially on the penalty kill.
Oh yeah.
Like we were mentioning before, you're mentioning before with the third line. With the last 2 Stadium Series games, the third line actually has been the best line the Rangers have put out there, with Zook having 2 goals in the double game, and Pouliot scoring the game-tying goal in last night's game. So they were able to play on the not-so-great ice, and they were able to take advantage of their bounces going their way on the third line. So you're absolutely right with the third line opposed to that. Danny, so what's your take on Carl Hagelin? Last year he was that Matt Zuccarello, and he's having a little bit quieter year. What do you think? Even though he has 12 goals, it doesn't feel like he's the same Hagelin. I know he's awesome on the penalty kill. I guess they're asking him to be a different kind of player with a different kind of styles. What's your take on Carl Hagelin?
I really like Hagelin, and he is that quiet player that kind of is unassuming, goes under the radar a lot of times. He waits for that perfect moment to strike, and when he does, it's just like, done. It's not a big, drawn-out thing, and that's one of the things I really like about him. He is playing a slightly different role this year. Last year, he was the speed on the ice. That was it. And this year, Chris Kreider's out there with him. They have similar speed, I'm willing to say. So it's a little bit different. But Hagelin also, if you watch, you don't see odd man rushes and you don't see breakaways when Hags is on the ice. He does a lot to prevent that, and he does a lot of the quiet work away from the puck that doesn't always get noticed. So I like him. I like what he does, and he's still relatively new, I guess you could say, in the hockey world, because before collegiate hockey, he didn't have a lot of hockey experience. I mean, he grew up in Sweden playing pickup games, of course, but it's just a different kind of thing. It's not like he started out in playing the Squirt League and then he went up to juniors and whatnot. He kind of went to hockey camp in Michigan and got into school, played hockey in school, got a degree, and went into the NHL. And it was, even being drafted, it was kind of quiet. So that's just the way he is, but I like it.
Okay, you mentioned Chris Kreider. He is the youngest Ranger at the moment on the team, and he's arguably one of the better Rangers on the unit so far this season. What do you think of his growth this year with the whole coaching change, different coaching style, and him not being in the doghouse with Torts, pretty much how he was with Torts last year? What do you think? What do you think has he matured, being could be an elite player in a few years coming up as he gets older? What do you think of Chris Kreider to this point so far? He has 13 goals and how many assists right now? I apologize. Kreider has 13 goals, 17 assists with a plus 14 rating, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
for a guy, pretty much he's still technically a rookie, even though he's had his
third year
moments on the bright stage.
Yeah, he's a third-year rookie just because of number of games. The thing with Kreider, I like Kreider. He's a big kid. He's what, like 6'3" and 210 pounds, something close to that.
Yeah.
He's a big kid, and he uses his size to his advantage. He's going to check you. He's going to knock you down. He's not going to back down from you. And I think we saw that earlier in the season when Sidney Crosby took a run at him and he was just jabbing at him. And Chris Kreider was like, whatever, kind of a thing. If you get up against the boards with him, you're going to feel that he's there. You're going to know it. He's got speed similar to Hagelin, so I think they work well together. Kreider just has more of the flash, but it's good. I don't like the term elite player. I really don't like it because there's the jinx aspect to it, but at the same time, everything comes and goes. There's always someone better coming up behind you that you've got to watch your back. And that's a really tough, it's like I love Henrik Lundqvist, but when you start saying elite, it kind of, there's something about it that just doesn't sit right when they're still playing because anything can happen.
Absolutely. I understand where you're coming from with that. Speaking of the Olympics is coming up pretty soon, and the Rangers have a lot of representatives from all different countries. Which player are you excited to see on the Olympic stage in a few weeks that represents the Rangers?
Out of the 7, I think I'm really most excited to see Zuccarello. And I know that sounds weird, but he's the only NHL player for Norway. And I think that's pretty exciting for him just to see. I mean, hopefully it brings more Norwegians this way. But he grew up playing on the larger surface. He's actually one of the few NHL players who have had to adjust from the large ice back down to the small ice, because a lot of the guys here, they've played on the small ice for so long, and it's more of an adjustment, I think, for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do when he gets back out where he's comfortable on the bigger ice.
We're talking about the Olympics right now. I was looking at the Rangers schedule, and you guys have 4 games in 8 nights before the break, and then coming out you have 5 and 9 nights.
Yeah.
Now, Lundqvist is playing every game for Sweden.
Yep. What's
your opinion? Should Cam play more or less of those games before and after the break?
It's
Cam's
tough.
Played well.
He has played well. My opinion of Cam, and this, I've said it before in other places, and a lot of people get mad at me, but in my opinion, in my estimation, Cam will always be a backup goaltender. I don't think he's ever going to take that next step and become a starter, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's always a place for everyone in the grand scheme of things. Look at Marty Biron. He basically made a career out of going from a starting goaltender to a backup, and how many years did he stay in the league being a backup? But as far as playing more or less,
at least in that time frame,
it's really going to be something that Hank's going to have to end up making decisions over, because he knows what he can handle and what he can't. I do foresee him playing more on the back side of the Olympics than on the front side, because I think Hank's going to want to be sharp, and the only way to do that is to play.
I absolutely agree with you. And with opposed to other years, I know Biron was good for the last couple of years, but Cam Talbot actually gives Ranger fans some confidence. They're like, oh, we might not win opposed to the last couple of years. Oh, Marty's playing in net instead of Henrik. Oh, we might not win tonight. With Cam Talbot, you have that energy. Oh, okay, Talbot's playing tonight. He's been playing pretty well as of late. let's see what happens kind of thing. And I like Cam Talbot so far, other than his mask, which we've mentioned billions of times that we love.
Awesome.
Is the best mask in the league, coming from a very big Ghostbuster fan as myself. But
have you seen John Gibson's mask? He's one of the guys in the Anaheim system.
no, I have not. I'll definitely go take a look at it tonight.
It's a Dave Art mask, and it's Duck's Insane Asylum.
Okay.
Oh, it's pretty sick. It's
That's pretty
sick.
cool.
Yeah.
I do love Dave Arts.
Yeah,
Follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I
and stuff.
follow him on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, Henrik Lundqvist did steal a show with his pads with the Yankee pinstripes.
Of course.
I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm a Met fan, I actually liked it. It came out off TV pretty well. It just felt right watching a game at Yankee Stadium. Someone wearing Yankee pinstripes. I absolutely loved the idea. That was a great job by him.
And you
Well,
can't.
and it's that
I'm sorry, Danny.
it's that simplistic, clean, classic kind of look that we all expect from Hank anyway. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And you can never go wrong with DiMaggio,
Babe
Babe Ruth, and
Mickey Mantle.
Mickey Mantle on the side of your helmet.
Steve, how did the pads come out? Were you too far away to really notice them? But like, how did they transcript being at the game?
It just looked like regular pads, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's
which
just,
I figured, but
you knew what they were,
Yeah,
but they were just regular pads. So.
because on TV they came out amazing.
Yeah.
It really looked good and looked clean and crisp.
Especially in the snow. In the Devils game, starting the second period, it was just like, it's like hockey porn.
Well, it's coming from one of the key contributors to hockey porn, Henrik himself. So, anyway, well, Steve, since you were at the game the other night, Wednesday night, what's your take out of the whole Stadium Series events?
I like the experience, personally. But still, back since they announced the Stadium Series idea, I'm not a fan of it. I like the one outdoor game a year, and that was it. That was the NHL moment, you know?
Yeah,
They had that one moment every year. Everybody at 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve would put on Channel 4 and watch the one outdoor game.
yeah.
Danny, I'd love to hear what your view is on the multiple outdoor games.
I'll even take it another step. I was upset when they moved the Outdoor Classic away from Edmonton. Because, I mean, how many years? It was the event in Edmonton for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I do like how they have the Heritage Classic. Even though this year's is a little messed up because
Weird, yeah.
because it's actually in a retractable roof arena.
Really?
And they already announced that if it's bad weather, they're going to close the roof.
Gotcha. So it's
Yeah.
essentially a
Indoor hockey game.
no. Okay. Like I watched a little bit of the the Kings and Ducks game, and it just felt weird. It like none of the games felt like, oh right, they're outside, it's awesome kind of thing. It just felt like a publicity stunt from the start. And last night, I'll be honest with you, last night's game was so boring.
Yes.
It was. I know the first period was the stereotypical feel each other out kind of thing. The ice is not the best boxing kind of match, but
if you watch the first period of the Devils game,
that game was a little bit different. That game was a little bit fun. A lot more fun, a lot more scoring. I just find it funny. Of course, Marty makes a comment after giving up 6 goals. It's not a good look.
no.
It really is a silly look. Granted, the ice was awful, but you can't be saying that after giving up 6 goals. You look like a sore loser coming out with that sort of thing. I found the game to be very boring last night, and it was funny. I jinxed it because of other than the 2 goals in 40 seconds apart from each other, the game was very pedestrian. It was just an ordinary night. If it was a regular game at the Garden or the Coliseum, you probably would have saw a little bit more goal scoring. So other than the whole atmosphere kind of thing, it was just it didn't help the game.
You saw the ice was bad. There was a lot of points in the game where on a regular ice, the Islanders had one of the Grabner would be breaking out, and the Islanders would be trying to hit him. There were plays where they had that set up, same setup, but Grabner, one of the fastest players in the league, couldn't move.
Yeah.
The ice was just horrible, and I wish they could do a better job with the ice on the outdoor game.
But it's a little bit weird. I don't know. Maybe Danny has some idea of this. But when you watch the Winter Classic, don't you feel like the players and everybody feels a little bit more smoother and the game's a little bit more crisper? Or was that just me watching the games? Like for the Winter Classic games, the games are a little bit more crisper and everything like that. I know you take the first period of feeling each other out and the whole surface and everything like that. Understand that. But it just felt weird. It just felt weird. The teams weren't getting going opposed to the other games. When you watch the Winter Classic, there are always exciting games and everything like that. What do you think about that?
The only comparison I can draw to that is look at this year's Winter Classic game. Snowing. How much snow was on the ice in Michigan? In that game, that game was completely different. They kept going. They were fighting. Yeah, they had the wind problem, and they had to switch after 10 minutes. But you can't say that ice was better than the ice that they were playing on, at the Yankee Stadium. So I don't really know. I don't know. It was maybe it's just the fact that it was nighttime instead of during the day because all the other outdoor games are during the day. I don't know if maybe the fact that it was at night had anything to do with it, but that's the only difference I can pinpoint about it. I don't know. It also didn't really seem like there was all that much intensity or urgency between the two teams.
Yeah, that was another thing I didn't take away. And with the other stadiums, I know the Big House is the Big House, so I'm going to contradict myself right now. With Yankee Stadium, it just felt cavernous. It just didn't feel like the fans were into the game. I know, obviously, I'm a lot wrong with that. It just didn't feel like fans were into the game kind of thing. Like the crowd volume and everything, from the TV standpoint of things, it just didn't feel like everybody was into the game kind of thing. I don't know if you felt the same way watching the game. I'm sure Steve's going to disagree because obviously being at the game is 100 times different than watching it on NBC network. But what was your take on that?
You didn't hear the crowd the same way that you did on the Devils game. And I mean, when the Devils Rangers were playing, both teams came out pushing, shoving. I mean, it was turned up to 11 from the first puck drop, from the first face-off, and it just didn't stop. And watching the Islanders, it was just kind of like you didn't hear the crowd in the background. You didn't see as much, and you didn't hear as much. You didn't even hear the stereotypical Potvin sucks cheers until way late in the game. I only heard it one time. It was either the end of the second or the beginning of the third period, something like that. It was just, no, I mean, from a TV standpoint, it didn't come across very well, but maybe part of that had to do with the fact that, to me, the announcers didn't even really feel all that into it because they were busy talking about everything else in the world.
That's very fair as well.
Okay. This is my question for you. I was thinking about this last night during one of the intermissions, and I was thinking about where in the league deserves an outdoor game. If they're going to keep doing the Stadium Series, where's the place they need to put it? Now, my personal opinion is the fact that Minnesota hasn't had an outdoor game yet, whether they're good or bad as a hockey team, that city in general deserves one.
I'm with you on with that. But.
Danny, where do you think would be a place that they should put an outdoor game?
Oh, I definitely agree. Minnie should get one. I mean, that is Hockey Town. I mean, I don't care who, even if Minnesota doesn't play, but two other teams go there and play, which I think would be really wrong, but Minnie deserves one for, geez, how many, they have a huge arena set up just for minor league hockey. I mean, not like AHL minor league, but just collegiate and club and all the other leagues that they have going on. Yeah, they flood all the parks there. All the state parks get flooded in the winter just to make rinks. So I definitely agree Mini should have one. Um, Other than that, I think Columbus gets the the All-Star game next year, but I don't think that would be a bad place to put an outdoor game. Just because of the proximity, it's kind of a middle ground between Canada and the U.S., really. So I don't think that would be too bad of a place. Other than that, you start getting into situations like you had out in California with ice problems and things like that.
Well, there's rumors that if they put one in Phoenix instead, they'll just play water polo.
Hey, you know?
Oh, sorry. The Arizona Coyotes.
Not until next year, so you're good.
I'm good.
Oh,
Okay, I'm good.
That
for
was
now.
the name change? Okay.
That was the
honestly,
agreement
though,
to get him to keep saying
the Ducks and Kings should have just played roller hockey, and that would have been cool to see.
It would have been more, it would reflect the area better if they played roller hockey.
That would have been cool, like all-out, full-check roller hockey.
By the way, did you guys notice that it was just like a Dodger game? Everyone showed up late to that.
It's California.
Just like a Dodger game. Everyone showed up late and left early.
Yeah, well, the traffic is so bad by that stadium, so that's exactly what happened. All right, Danny.
Well, imagine everybody trying to get to Yankee Stadium driving a car and having no metro, no trains.
Not happening. No chance. All right, Danny. Before we let you go, what's your take on the Rangers for the rest of the season, before the Olympic break and after Olympic break?
Before the Olympic break, I think we just kind of keep coasting the way we are. I think everyone keeps putting out the same effort, and we just kind of keep it going the way it is. I mean, it's only, 2 more weeks? Not even. Like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Next Friday is the last. Yeah, next Friday is the last Ranger game. Next Saturday is the last Islander game before the break.
Yeah, I think the hockey part of the tournament, the men don't even start playing until
the middle of the following week because they get a couple of days to get accustomed to the teams.
Yeah, they have
practice schedules.
All right, yeah, they have the Islanders, and then they have the Avalanche, the Oilers, and Penguins
in Pittsburgh.
So the Rangers end on the 7th in Pittsburgh against Pitt.
In Pittsburgh against Pitt, where former Ranger Taylor Pyatt is now. Pitt's going to be a hard game. It's always a hard game for anybody, any team that goes to Pittsburgh. It's just they have an unbelievable winning streak in their building, which I think got snapped not too long ago. But that's
Florida.
It's like one loss in how many? It's just So Pitt's Pitt. You don't really say much about that. Edmonton's going to be interesting. They've got Ben Scrivens now, and after his shutout, that's going to be interesting because they're finally getting some offense. They finally have a goaltender. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired, but that game's going to come down to who scores the most goals, and it's going to be a toss-up. It really is. Avalanche, again, which goaltender do they play? It's just going to be a battle of wills. The rest of the way through, it's just going to be a battle of wills, and does anyone lose anyone to injury, anything like that? Which hopefully, you never want injuries to happen because you always want it to be, you want to be able to say, "Yep, we beat you, and all your best guys were on the ice." So and I think all the teams are kind of on the same page going into the Olympics. They're just trying to play their games, put everything into it, but they know that the Olympic break is coming, so they're not going to play lighter, but that is in the back of their mind. So I don't really have any predictions between now and then because you don't know. And then my fear for every team is that someone gets injured at the Olympics, which I hope it doesn't happen because that would be the absolute worst. But that's going to be telling. You're going to have someone coming back being on a team that won a medal and someone's going to have a gold medal, and that's obviously going to elevate those players. So it's going to be hard to say what happens after the Olympics until you see who does what there.
What is your take on the NHL players going to the Olympics?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
That's simple.
Yeah, I mean, because it's exactly that. And a lot of people don't look at it, but you've got people here in the U.S., contracts are made. Players are locked into their contracts. What happens if somebody gets injured in Russia playing for the Olympics for their national team? What happens to that contract? What happens to that team here? It really changes everything.
So do you think that they should do, my opinion is, if they did take them out, is every 4 years, instead of having a junior tournament, you take that tournament and you move it to the Olympics?
Why not? I mean, the Olympics were initially designed to be amateur athletes. It wasn't supposed to be paid professionals, but that got thrown out the door when the U.S. had the Dream Team how many years ago, the first Dream Team. That's when it all changed. So that kind of bothers me in a lot of ways, but why not have the juniors? Even though a lot of the minor league guys are contracted, it's a minimal contract. If they're not playing on NHL level, they're on entry levels, which are what, like 600,000 or something like that.
Around that.
Yeah, they're pretty. It's a lot, but in relatively speaking, it's a pretty low contract to lose. It's not like you're Rick Nash getting $8 million a year. What happens to the Rangers? Again, no bad karma. I'm not jinxing anything. But what happens to that $8 million of your cap space that you just lost on a player that wasn't even playing for your team when it happened?
Well, take Crosby, for example.
Yeah.
Concussion history.
Exactly. What happens to Crosby? What happens to the Penguins if that was to happen? It's a lot of variables in it. I think it's risky. I mean, sure, everybody wants to represent their country, but that was the original thing about the Olympics, is you had to make a choice. What did you want to do? And a lot of players would push the Olympic road first, represent their country, and then take the professional route.
100%.
So, I don't know. That's just my take on it, but
I agree with you. I do love watching them play for their country, of course, because,
yeah.
Of course, it brings out that extra burst in you. You want to win for your country. It's not like you're not just playing for that one team in one league. You're playing for a country. I mean, it's a big deal. But on the other hand, I don't want to see Tavares go and get hurt. If he gets hurt, that's 30 goals we're losing this year.
Probably more than that. Because he's almost at, what is he at now?
He's at about 21.
Yeah, he'll have more than 30. Easy.
Yeah, he's a 30 to 40 goal scorer a year.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So then what happens to the Islanders? Who steps in?
Nobody.
I mean,
Trust me,
Kyle
Okposo
is doing a pretty good job, but then you still have to find that third person for that line.
Right. Which they don't have.
Because Molson's gone.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Vanek.
I would take Vanek in a heartbeat over Molson.
Well, the question will become who can shift over.
Well, then it just becomes who moves up and where does Ryan Strome go?
Yeah.
So.
Unless, like I said, someone can shift over.
That's right. BlueLineStation.com.
Yes.
And what's your Twitter handle so everybody can give you a follow on Twitter?
I am at Saucy, SAUCY_C.
All right. So you hear it here first. Thanks again, Dani, for coming on. Be sure to check out all her articles. I'm sure you have an article coming out tomorrow morning?
Always. Every morning we have, first thing up is our daily what's going on kind of a thing, and it rolls from there.
All right, so you hear first, BlueLineStation.com. Give it a look. We know we have AJ on as always, but definitely give Dani's articles a view and comment on them. Thank you for coming on, Dani. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You too.
SND Podcast is no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Hockey League or any of its affiliates.
Welcome back to episode 62 of the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, thanks to Division 1.1. This week's song, Violence in the Season. Okay, before we even talk Super Bowl,
Okay.
I'm going to give you player A and player B.
Oh, scared.
Okay?
Yep.
Football players. And I'm going to give numbers, basically, for them.
Okay.
Career highlights, awards, and their career statistics. Both retired.
Okay.
And you're going to tell me which one you want on your
Okay.
team. Okay. Player A, 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first team, 2 times second team All Pro. Don't forget, if you know who they are, don't mention who they are yet.
No.
Okay. 1 Super Bowl ring,
Mm-hmm.
2-time NFC champion,
Okay.
1-time Defensive Player of the Year,
Mm-hmm.
2-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
Okay.
That's player 1.
Hold on. His career statistics: 854 tackles, 141.5 sacks, 4 picks, 3 touchdowns. That's player A.
Okay.
Okay. Now player B, also a 7-time Pro Bowler,
Mm-hmm.
also won the Super Bowl once, 4-time All-Pro first team, 2-time second team,
Okay.
1-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
573 tackles, 96.5 sacks, 19 forced fumbles, 4 picks. Which guy are you picking on your team?
Player A, Michael Strahan, any day of the week.
Okay.
Any day of the week. I don't know what Warren Sapp has against Michael Strahan. The stats speak for himself. He's going to be elected to the Hall of Fame on Saturday, and I can't wait for that. And I can't wait to try to book my Canton trip for that.
Was Warren Sapp in Denver or Seattle recently?
Probably. Oh, I got where you're going with there. I guess so. I don't get what he has against Michael Strahan the last couple of years. They must have had some crazy rift the last couple of years, but Strahan deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's gonna get it. What greater way to be acknowledged by the hometown New York, New Jersey Super Bowl for him to be accepted into the Hall of Fame. And it's gonna be a good Hall of Fame class, which we're expecting to be a lot of players going in this year. So it's gonna be awesome to see. It should be an awesome class. So I expect Michael Strahan to be part of that crew. How about you?
There's no way he shouldn't make it. He deserves it. No story.
Yeah, there's no fans or buts about it. He definitely should make the Hall of Fame. The problem is it's a logjam the last couple of years, so that's probably why he hasn't made it in this year.
Okay. There's kind of a big deal of a game going on.
There's a big game going on this weekend? I had no idea. Huh.
I wonder if it's an important one.
Yeah, I think it's semi-important.
If you're a player, is this a must-win?
No, of course not. They'll get to play another game in August, so it's not that big of a deal.
August games are more important than this one.
Yeah, please. Anyway, it is the Super Bowl. We are kidding along. I can't believe people actually bought Dave Demashek's questions as not a joke. It's pretty funny to me.
Yeah, I agree.
What are you excited for this Sunday's game? I'm actually going to be excited to not hear about the weather talk anymore. It's the one thing I'm so tired of hearing. Oh, the weather this, the weather that. They play in this weather regardless. They play in Seattle and Denver. They've played in the cold weather before. The only people that are complaining are the people that want to go to Florida during Super Bowl week, who live in cold areas and everything like that. They want to be in the warmth.
Do you realize that if this was last year, there'd be a bigger problem? Because New Orleans is in a state of emergency because of the icy weather that's going on down there?
Yeah, I know.
So if this was last year and they had the weather, there'd be more problems with the weather than there are this year in New York.
Honestly, it's just been one of that
just really cold.
It's been that kind of winter. And honestly, it shouldn't be that bad by Super Bowl Sunday. They're saying it should be around 40. And that's a heat wave the way it's been the last week.
It's true.
Honestly, the other day when it was 30, we're like, oh my God, I want to take off my jacket kind of hot. I'm kidding, of course, but it was just that kind of, oh, that's what it feels like to be 30 again? I miss this. opposed to being 12 degrees like it's been the last couple of days.
I don't know where you were today, but it hit 21. It was pretty hot out.
Yeah, it was pretty hot out. Anyway, it's going to be fun. Two great teams are going to go at it. They're the two best teams in both leagues this year. Obviously, in everybody's opinion, we're the two number one seeds in each conference. So we're going to probably get our money's worth. It's going to be interesting to see how the Surgeon goes about going against the Legion of Boom. That's the most exciting matchup I have for this weekend. And I'm sure everybody else is wanting to see what Peyton Manning could do with the Legion against the Legion of Boom. So what do you think this week? What are you most excited for? That's definitely my most excited part of the whole game planning of watching this week. Super Bowl.
Who's the defensive coordinator for Seattle? Any idea what his name is?
I don't know his name off the top.
I forgot what his name is, but you know what?
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Pete Carroll basically runs that defense. This is going to be arguably could be the best Super Bowl we ever seen. You're seeing a master at his job.
Yeah,
Peyton.
With Peyton, but
against the ball hawking, probably the best core ball hawking you've ever seen.
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see. Defense normally wins championships. Let's see how the offense can predict keep the tempo up, and being able to keep the scoring at the most high that they can possibly get. Because honestly, as much as I like Seattle's offense, can they keep up with Peyton Manning? Not a lot of teams can. But with their defense, they're going to be kept in the game most of the game, and it's going to be Russell Wilson's game to lose. You know what Peyton's going to do. He's going to find a way. He's going to find his weaknesses throughout the whole game. Seattle's weaknesses throughout the whole game. It really is going to be up to Russell Wilson and how he's going to be able to manage the team and get through the offense and everything like that. I think it's Russell Wilson's game to win or lose. If he has a great game, anything can happen. But if he doesn't go toe-to-toe with Peyton, it could be a long night. What do you think?
I agree with that 100%. I also think you're going to see a lot of no Sean Marino. A lot of no Sean Marino this week.
He'll get his big contract by this game?
I think so.
Fair enough.
I think that in order for the Broncos to win, he needs to get in the end zone. Marino.
Okay.
He needs to be a factor in this game.
And I think Demetrius Thomas is going to find a way to be a factor in this game as well to open up the middle of the field, especially with how the Legion of Boom is.
Do you see a play like you saw in the AFC Championship game where Thomas is going to go into the middle and Welker's going to come in and hit Sherman?
Not necessarily.
To try and get him out?
I'm sure there will be pick plays because that's how the Broncos play. They took a couple plays from the Patriots playbook as well. I think the key is Wes Welker. Like how you have Marino, but Wes Welker is going to be in the slot most of the time. So he's going to be the one feeding off the Legion of Boom. It's just how many chunks of yards does he get per play. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if they start getting a lot of chunk yards with Wes Welker. Do they move in one of the regular cornerbacks to play nickel to stop him? It's going to be really interesting to see how each matchup comes. It's going to be a great chess match. You're going to see one move, then the other team's going to be able to counteract and make a counter move to it. So it's going to be a very cerebral game. I'm very excited to see what comes out to it. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Broncos are going to pull it out. Find a way to pull it out.
You mentioned what would happen if Welker is going off. Will they move someone over? I think that with their safeties, one thing you notice about them is they can move.
Oh, absolutely.
Like take Earl Thomas. I've been watching Earl Thomas. I wanted Earl Thomas to be a giant.
Oh, yeah. Earl Thomas is great.
I want him to be a giant. Watching all the highlights of him over at Texas, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah. He played at Texas.
He can go sideline to sideline with the best of them.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If he's on one sideline, he'll be on the other sideline to make a play.
Yeah.
With the ball in the air.
If the Broncos win, they're gonna earn their money. They're gonna earn their money, and if they win that Super Bowl, it's going to be just the most well-earned Super Bowl because we know how good the Legion of Boom and their defense really is. So it's going to be very interesting to see what tricks each team has up their sleeve.
But what I meant was that I feel that they're not going to move a guy onto Welker, but Chandler and Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
They're going to be. They'll have one eye on Welker and one eye on the ball.
No, I know. Of course they are, because it's going to be that kind of that environment. But it's going to be interesting with all the weapons the Broncos have. That you can't cover every single one of them every single play. But
Right.
the Legion of Doom is that one defense in the league that couldn't find a way to stop it. So it's gonna. I'm so excited for this game. Everybody has the inside and out to death for it. So obviously you've heard it through and through. I just can't wait for 6:30 on Sunday. I have the Broncos. Who do you have winning?
I have the Broncos as well. What is your score for this game, Dan? How about that?
I think it's going to be like a 24-21 kind of game. If the weather's saying what it's supposed to be, Peyton Manning is going to be able to find his groove. The whole narrative, I know that's another word that's been used with Peyton Manning through thick and thin, but you know with the stats on how he is above 30-degree weather and how he is above it. So if it's going to be above 30 degrees and a fair day for a February day at MetLife Stadium, Peyton Manning's going to find a way to pick apart the defense of the Legion of Boom. But the Legion of Boom do make a couple plays. It's gonna be one of those epic finishes to the game, and the Broncos find a way to pull it out with Matt Prater on Sunday.
35-31.
Oh, big scoring game.
Yep.
Okay.
35-31 Broncos.
And honestly, if the Seahawks do win, I'll be happy for them as well. Congratulations to both teams. I just want a good game.
Congratulations to both teams for getting
I just
there.
want a good game going into the 2-minute warning on Monday.
Final 2-minute warning, not the halftime 2-minute warning.
And when I get my depressed, oh man, football season's over.
At least you could say you went down on top.
Hopefully.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
I'd like to thank Dani.
Yeah, once again, thanks, Danny, coming
Blue
on.
Line Station. Check her out.
Yeah, it's a great read. Not Andy. AJ's been doing a lot of good work. Unfortunately, he has to loosen the reins, like we mentioned the other night with the SATs and everything like that. So we all know the horrors of that. So good luck with that, AJ. We're with you, bud. Thanks again to Dani for coming on and sharing her knowledge and wealth about the New York Rangers and overall hockey experience. Once again, we'll have her on it soon again. Thanks for everybody listening. Have a great week.
1.1, Blue Line Station. Don't forget Eyes on Isles as well for your Islander intake.
Yeah.
Not just the Rangers, the Islander
I'm
intake
sure
as well.
this week's Dump and Chase podcast was a depressing one because they had post-game talk about the Islander Ranger game at Yankee Stadium. So I'm sure their spirits were pretty low. But
Enjoy the final week of hockey before the break. Nice little 3 weeks of no NHL hockey, but some fun Olympic hockey coming up. And we'll see you guys next week.
enjoy your week. Enjoy the Super Bowl.